Dr. Thelela Ngcetane-Vika is an international law, security studies and global governance expert from the Wits University School of Governance, and she joins us now on the line. A very good afternoon to you, Dr. Ngcetane. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you and your viewers. Yes.
Now, first of all, just a couple of hours before the 47th U.S. president is installed back to the Oval Office, in a slightly different inauguration, which you understand will take place under tight security and inside the, inside the White House. So, what's your expectation for this?
There are a number of expectations. One, domestic policies within the United States, amongst others, is the one that's a really raging debate on migration and, America first, a more nationalist a posture from a Trump administration, and, of course, health issues, and amongst others. But, of course, there are global issues. As you know, that a president of these United States become a leader of the free world, and that world it really is made with a number of dynamics, especially wars. I mean, the Russia-Ukraine, and yesterday we saw the first phase of the ceasefire, release of hostages and prisoners in Gaza. So a Trump administration comes to that. Of course, there's also a G20 sitting from today, so he's coming to that kind of world.
Of course, this takes place as the United States, in fact, President Trump himself is being credited and hailed for ensuring that the Gaza ceasefire deal saw the light of day before he was even installed into office, as he had earlier alluded to, with the Biden administration, on the other hand, claiming credit for the ceasefire, saying it took months of hard work by the administration that culminated in this ceasefire. Well, Dr. Ngcetane, we might not have the time nor the inclination to discuss who really is responsible for the ceasefire, but would there be any implications of the sustenance of this ceasefire moving forward if influenced by any of the two U.S. administrations opposed to each other?
Yes. Number one, it tells us about the political dynamics in the United States. You've got an exiting Biden administration. Of course, they would have worked on a number of years, months at least, on that ceasefire. However, it must be said the failures within the Biden administration on Gaza, spectacular failures. Of course, Trump has got hyperboles. He's going to take some claim. But it seems to me the people that he delegated to be part during the transition period to do some work for him in the Middle East, perhaps there's some value that there may be some contribution, but it's that who has done it. And these are politics. I mean, politicians are about currency. Who's got more currency? Yeah. And Trump is getting into that phase, and he needs the currency to do so.
Right. And President Trump has often positioned himself as an outsider to traditional political structures. So how does that particular narrative then influence the expectations surrounding his inaugural address and his approach to governance?
I mean, Trump is a non-traditional as you can find in the American tradition. I happen to be in the United States this week, so I'm, having some on-the-ground take on his presidency. Mm-hmm. So he's non-traditional. The fact that, they're going to host the inauguration inside the rotunda tells you how non-traditional Trump is. Yesterday, he had a victory rally. Rarely the presidents do that. He's already on TikTok, amongst others. He's a businessman who turned politician. Or has he turned politician? It's up in the air. But you're dealing with that kind of the next administration of Trump. But Trump is going to be really on the money in the 47, being the 47th president of the United States. Of course, all presidents, when they come to the second term, they are more comfortable to push really frontiers and boundaries. They've got nothing to lose, in inverted commas, if you like.
And what role does Trump's rhetoric play in shaping the media coverage and the public expectations, really, leading up to the inauguration, especially regarding promises of prosperity and national rejuvenation?
Yes. I mean, it plays into the two binaries, political binaries in the United States. You're either a Republican or a Democrat. Obviously, Democrats are reeling from the loss. I mean, having lost all major swing states, that's a bleeding hemorrhage, political hemorrhage. And then you've got Trump, who's really gained. You may not like perhaps his politics, but the fact of the matter, he has gained. What does that tell us about American politics? Polarized politics. You're either here or not. He's coming into that space, and I foresee that the next 4 years will continuously be there. And of course, we've got our Elon Musk, in the picture.
Oh, yes. And it's quite interesting you raising the issue of Elon Musk, because I read an article somewhere that the first row, only billionaires will be seated, and then there are politicians in the back rows. Anyway, yes. How are Trump supporters and critics then preparing for this inauguration? So what do both sides expect in terms of concrete steps towards achieving his vision for economic prosperity?
Well, from a Republican point of view, this is good. They've won the White House, they've won the Senate, they've won the Congress. That's a really good thing to have for any lawmaking, for any presidents in any country. So they're on solid ground. Of course, they've got policy dynamics. Sometimes they don't necessarily agree amongst themselves. I mean, within the Republican parties, you've got pockets of extreme right-wingers, if you like. And then you've got those who are more moderate, but, to the extent that they're moving towards the right. And then within the Democratic Party, they really have no option but to fight and resist. And it's going to be a very challenging time. Their only saving grace will probably be the midterms. But midterms in the United States are always determined with what happens in the White House within those first 2 years. So if Trump does well, then Democrats really is going to have an uphill battle.
Now, Dr. Ngcetane, let's talk about some of the challenges that Trump may face in trying to implement his vision for a prosperous America, especially in terms of bipartisan support and overcoming entrenched political divisions.
Yes. Well, Trump, what often helps him is the fact that he's very non-traditional. And also remember, Republicans owe a bit, if not so much, to him, especially with this election. He has won them. I mean, the three critical arms of government in the United States. So he's going to have some leverage, appointment of cabinet ministers, what they call it, the secretaries. He's going to get that in numbers. Of course, there's been that issue around the Attorney General, amongst others. But by and large, he's going to do that. But of course, Biden was quite smart on the appointments of some of the jurists. So there are going to be some dynamics around that because there's a particular number you can't exceed. So Biden, in a way, has sort of settled that. So he's going to walk into that space, but he's got leverage. Make no mistake, he's got the three arms of government. And he's going to use it. It would be within the Republican Party if there are dynamics that are emerging of policies. And then you may have a challenge around that. But it's going to be very challenging, though, because he has delivered voters for them. And in politics, that matters more than anything else.
Interesting presidency ahead. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your insights with us, Dr. Ngcetane.